Hi everyone, and welcome back to my cafe rebrand series. If you haven't already, go back and watch my first video on the cafe logo redesign. In today's video, I'm going to be going over a couple of the mock-ups I've created, from posters to bike jerseys to bike hats, some socks, some totes, things that I would be looking to have featured in a cafe. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So for this first design I'm working on, I found this photo online of a Brooks saddle, and they actually sell this saddle in the cafe, so I really wanted to feature a similar design on a poster. So I'm just going in and tracing this image so I get all the detailing on the Brooks saddle and what makes it special. My partner swears by this saddle, and I get why. I ride on a just like a normal nylon or poly saddle. I don't know what material it really is, but it's foam, and they ride on a leather saddle, and they say very great things about riding on this saddle for more than 50 miles, which is what we usually do. We do really long distance rides. And it's just cool looking. Like, for this poster design and for their overall theme of the branding, I want to keep that Art Deco look. And I think the line work and the metal rivets on this saddle really display the Art Deco-like style of it all. So I'm just going in and adding my own details on it. I'm not strictly following the frame of this bike, mainly because I'm not the biggest fan of what the bike was in the picture. I'm looking for something more like a city bike or like a gravel bike than a cruiser, something a little bit older, a little bit more classic looking, and with the thin pipes. And I really wanted to play around with these posters in the way they're cropped. I didn't want to just have an entire poster of just the bike. I feel like it makes it a lot more interesting and engaging to make a poster that really plays with the perspective. So now I'm gonna go ahead and play around with adding in some branding on the bike that matches the logo, because when we're talking about a brand, we want to make sure that the brand stands out beyond just the logo. And I thought something neat would be to include the year that the cafe was created. There's this brewery in Fort Collins, Colorado that I really like. And if you haven't heard of it, it's called New Belgium Brewing, and they have a line of beer that is called Fat Tire. It's one of my top favorite beers, mainly because it was created for the intent of bikers to consume, mainly mountain bikers. And every year at New Belgium, if after 1 year of being an employee, you receive a bike. And I think that concept's so cool, because Fort Collins is a really great area to just go biking around. And I live in Maryland. I live in suburbia right outside of DC, and you can't bike anywhere. It makes it really hard besides on the C&O Canal. But Fredrick is actually quite biker friendly if you know where to go. And I think that this cafe being a bike shop and a cafe, it would be really cool if they gave their employees bikes, just like New Belgium does. I just thought that was something cool and a part of like their mission and their values that made them different. In the Gravel and Grind's current shop, they actually have a couple tumblers featured, and I was trying to copy what they currently have in terms of the shape of the tumbler in their store and just add that to the poster so that we keep that concept of coffee or tea or some beverages in the graphic as well as the bike. So we're not forgetting about that element of the branding. And I had a good conversation the other day with my partner talking about branding, because I was talking about how I feel like with my channel, I really want to create what really inspires me, and I don't really want to create necessarily for the viewers. And I know that sounds a little bit backwards, and I think I will end up doing a couple of videos strictly for my viewers, but right now it's mainly just for me to learn how to video edit and just get my work out there. And we were talking about the Starbucks logo, and honestly, I'm not in love with the Starbucks logo with the mermaid. I don't really get it, but then they made a really good point that why does it have to show in the logo that it's a coffee shop? Why do they have to have a coffee bean? Why do they have to have a coffee cup? Why do they have to show what their product is? It's more interesting if they share an image of the idea of the company. So I thought that was a really interesting perspective, and I don't want to knock it. And it kind of made me a little bit embarrassed with the journey I've been on this rebranding of the logo, mainly because I literally added a coffee cup and a bike to the logo. So maybe with this design process, I could have gone further and expanded a little bit outside of focusing on just what they offered in terms of products. And I think that was already resembled in their original logo through their font choice. I really do like the font choice that they have, and looking at it, it almost looks like it's a road. And I really like the elements of it, keeping the Art Deco theme. Definitely matches that. And it's a really nice font to begin with. So I think they made a good choice of font choice. And you can even see it here in my video as I'm expanding the brand. I'm keeping consistent with the font choice that they used. And I'm manipulating it and using it outside of the icon I created. But hey, that's why I do these projects. The whole point of kind of assigning myself to do these projects and take on this challenge for myself outside of client works is so that I can screw up and I can learn from it without a price, and it just keeps my skills sharp. And I definitely have a lot more respect for my professors, and sometimes I really miss being in school, mainly because of the projects I was assigned. I had a lot of great projects and I had a lot of crappy projects, but it was somewhere where you could learn and then be critiqued on the projects before you submitted it for a grade. I didn't go for graphic design, and I do regret not going for graphic design. I think it would have been a lot of fun, but I still made a point to go and be involved in fellowships and in programs that still had that element of working with teams, being critiqued, exploring my vision and going through the entire design process. So I still had elements of being in a graphic design field or a graphic design major, but I'm definitely finding that now I'm full-time freelance working by myself, that I miss the aspects of being critiqued. And I do get critiqued by my clients, of course, but it's not the same. It's more like edits instead of a educational conversation on the design, if that makes sense. And sometimes I feel like I get really restricted in testing my abilities because I'm not being critiqued. And I've had a really hard time with my relationship with being critiqued and how to critique other people and how people approach critiquing me. And I don't know. I miss being critiqued by fellow students and professors who are involved in the project and know the origins of it. But on the other hand, I like having the freedom of being able to jump an idea and expand it fully through my vision without having someone else influence their own ideas on it, if that makes sense. Because with collaboration and teamwork, you want everyone to feel involved and have their ideas come through. But it's really hard to work with another individual who is also a designer in some cases, and you two have two very opposing styles and takes and perspective on the project and can't agree to where the project will move forward. And sometimes it can be really difficult to work with someone like that. And going through a project and maybe the other person holds a grudge that they didn't get it their way, it can just make the entire project really difficult. Sometimes those can be the best projects. I'm not saying they can't be, but it's fun being out of school and being able to just express myself in the way I want to through my projects and through some of my client projects where I'm just the individual designer. But anyway, back to the design. So here I've been working on a poster design that I thought was going to be a cute idea of including a map inside of the wheel of their location in Historic Fredrick. I saw it on someone's Instagram and they were doing it in terms of where people first met in a relationship, and I thought that was kind of cute. But I don't know. I just thought it would be a cool feature to add into the wheel of biking to the cafe. Here's your roadmap kind of thing. I don't know. I was just playing around. Okay, but now looking at all of the designs, I really want to add some color into them. And of course, I am going to add teal to the bike frame because I do have a teal Bianchi bike. So that was just my preference to make the bike teal. I think it looks better than it being that navy color or the brown. And then with the tires, I added this brown stripe through the middle. And I think it connects well back to the logo, that tire. That was my main goal with these illustrations, that it kind of looked like a portion of the logo just really zoomed in. But the brown stripe is known among a certain tire company in the gravel biking industry, so I thought that would just be a fun little touch for like the insiders into gravel biking. Just like the Brooks saddle. But now, here comes the fun part, or at least I think it's a lot more fun than doing posters. It's the apparel design and mock-ups. And for this, I was just playing around, having a lot of fun. I was using a lot of my bike jerseys that I have as inspiration, and I was mainly just playing around with colors, what looked good, what didn't. I found these mock-ups on Creative Market, and I did pay for them, of course, but it was really hard finding mock-ups for bike gear. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But you'll see I'm jumping back and forth between Photoshop and Illustrator to come up with these designs, and mainly I'm trying to just expand as much as I can on the branding. So for this bike jersey, I'm trying to utilize the shape and line work within that font on the shirt, mainly because it looks like maybe a bike tire, a road, just kind of resembling biking. I thought that was a cool feature. And then of course I'm bringing in the secondary font. I've been using Cocoa Matte to just help display some more unique features of the brand. And you might be looking at some of the things I'm doing in Photoshop, and you could be basically thinking she knows nothing about Photoshop. You're kind of right. I barely use Photoshop. I know how to use it. I look up a lot of things on Photoshop, but it's not my main specialty program. I actually do a lot of Photoshopping in Illustrator. I like the way Illustrator in InDesign functions so much better than Photoshop. It's interesting. I'm on all the Adobe apps using the different products and the way things are set up, and I've pretty much mastered what I like in terms of my window setup in Illustrator and in InDesign. But for things like Photoshop and Adobe Premiere Pro and the media one, the animation one, I'm still playing with where I like my tools, what properties I like, what features, and it's mainly because I'm not as experienced with those programs as others. I'm not saying I don't know how to use them, I don't use them as much as I use the others. So it always takes me a minute, especially when I have a bunch of different programs open at one time. But anyway, I really enjoyed playing with this mock-up because with this mock-up, it gave me a lot more panels to work with and to play with branding and the design. So I was able to just keep playing, and I really liked introducing the gradients on this shirt. I think they worked out really well. And I like how I mixed the solid teal color with the gradient blues. And I think that just helped the jersey pop, especially with the logo on the back. And it's funny, playing with this logo, it is centered when I do center it on a page, but when you look at it optically, it never looks centered. So the way I have to go in and edit it, I have to distribute the weight more to the left side and give more negative space on the right side so that the logo looks centered and more balanced. So that's something that I wish I played with more in the logo redesign process, because I have to constantly take that into consideration when working on any of the designs with the logo. And if this was for a big corporation company, they would not be thinking about that. A lot of logos are pretty standard in the way you're supposed to set it up, and they're really well balanced. This logo, since I have to adjust it, isn't balanced the way I really want it to be. But now I am moving on to biker hats. They are the weirdest looking hats I've ever seen because you're supposed to wear them under your bike helmet. And they're just kind of goofy looking. They're not like a normal ball cap. So the brim's a lot different. It's more flexible. They just, I don't know, they look a little more nerdy. And I was really trying hard to make this design look cool. Because I don't want just bikers to buy this gear. I want anyone to buy the gear. Especially if it comes to hats or socks or things like that, where it can be multi-purposed. The jersey's pretty much meant for bikers. That's why I also created a mock-up of a t-shirt. So with the hat, I'm still trying to incorporate the same designs I did on the jersey to kind of make it like it's an entire outfit, so that they all match with the same patterns, the same look, same feel. So I just keep playing with ideas. I didn't really sketch any of my ideas out for the mock-ups beforehand. I mainly just looked at inspiration and just kind of kept playing with it. That's how I feel like I do things best when it comes to a personal project. I enjoy the projects more when I just keep playing and don't have any concrete ideas. But again, I really liked working on the hat because whoever set up this mock-up did a really good job of making sure they set up different panels to edit. And the more I played with it, the more designs I was able to come up with. And I came up with 3 hat designs in the end. I did 2 bike jerseys, 3 hats, I think 3 socks that you'll see in a couple minutes. And yeah, I just had a lot of fun playing with these mock-ups. They were worth the money. Working on these socks was a lot of fun. I have a lot of interesting bike socks in my dresser that I grabbed inspiration from. One of the designs that I was kind of copying was off of this bike race I did, or bike ride. It wasn't a race, it was for charity, called Bikes for Beers, and you can tell I like beer. That after your bike ride, you go to a local brewery and you can get beer. And usually it's included in the cost of the bike ride. But you can do 15, 30, or 45 miles. I usually do the 45 mile. And they have these really cool beer socks. So I thought I would do that with the Gravel and Grind logo. It's funny because I was trying to play with tube socks and try and make like a vintage version of tube socks, and for some reason I just did not like the look of it, so I went with a plain design for this version. And now on to a tote bag and t-shirts. This one was kind of fun. I always love designing tote bags because you can really just put any of your poster designs on a tote bag. And of course I designed a simple tote bag, and then I moved into designing one based off my poster, and I had to make a couple tweaks based on the cropping of the tote bag. This wasn't as high-end of a quality mock-up as the previous mock-ups, which made it a lot harder to get an exact crop. But I think it still came out pretty cool. I would definitely buy this tote bag if they sold it or had something similar. I have a tote bag collection. It's pretty cool. It's like every state I go to coffee shops, I go to a brewery, I get a new ring, and I get a new tote bag. You can never have enough tote bags. This mock-up also gave me a little bit of a challenge. This one wasn't as high quality as the other one. And it definitely posed some issues with keeping the texture while overlaying the logo. Because for some reason I kept digging inside of this file and could not find why it was making the shirt so dark. And I checked every setting there was, and I just could not figure it out. So I definitely need to look into finding a better t-shirt mock-up. And with that ends today's video. If you enjoyed this video, please go hit like and subscribe, and stay tuned for the third and final video in this series while I'll be working on an animation. So go hit subscribe, turn on that notification button, and go follow my Instagram account for updates. So I hope to see you soon, and thank you so much for watching.